This is perfect for multiple reasons as the Canucks make a sneaky good signing to keep a core unit of this team reinforced and ensure depth moving forward, while the contract details also provide another theory to the signing. We're going to be breaking out all that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first, if you're part of the 66% of viewers who aren't yet subscribed, you want to stay up to date on all things Canucks, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the updates when they drop. And with that, let's hop straight into it, which is Derek Forbort has been signed. So it was announced earlier today by Patrik Allvin that him and Derek Forbort have agreed to terms on a 1-year, $2 million contract that will keep him signed until 2025 and 2026. So this is a pretty surprising one just because we were uncertain of what was going to happen with Derek Forbort after the ending of last season when he had that unfortunate injury. However, coming off of a $1.5 million 1-year contract into a $2 million contract, it's not very expensive for Vancouver to fit the bill on this one for a 1-year deal. Now, where the interesting part of it lies is not just what he's getting paid, but the length of the contract. So there was a lot of speculation last season as to what they were going to do with Derek Forbort. But as far as Patrik Allvin is concerned, as far as his view on the Forbort signing, he said bringing Derek back for another season is an important move for our group. His strong defensive play and solid work on the penalty kill really helped solidify our back end this past year. Derek has a strong voice in the locker room and some impressive leadership qualities, and we will continue to look to him to help our team continue to grow and improve this coming season. Now, that last part may be a bit of a double meaning within that, which we'll hop into in a second here. But overall, I can definitely see Derek Forbort having been a pretty formidable voice in that locker room, as you saw in the intro with that fight that ended in the cheap shot that ended his season from Yakov Trenin. But he won that fight, and that's why Yakov Trenin cheap shotted him, because he knew he lost the fight and was embarrassed. So he took that cheap shot while he was laying on the ice, but the NHL did nothing about it. However, before I hop down that rabbit hole and get myself worked up, we're going to focus on what the matter is at hand here, whereas Derek Forbort on the penalty kill was fantastic for the Canucks, pairing with some other guys as well. You had Elias Pettersson, you had Filip Hronek, you had Quinn Hughes on that penalty kill, and he was one of the better aspects of that penalty kill, and he was a guy that if he had to drop the gloves, he was going to drop them and try and get something of momentum going or try and set the tone in some way. And in those 54 games he played with Vancouver last season, he recorded 11 points with 2 goals and 9 assists, 45 penalty minutes, and averaging 17:06 of ice time, which isn't too bad for a middle 6 guy or a bottom 6 guy as far as the depth chart is concerned. But the 6'4", 216-pound defenseman has played 550 career regular season games, split between Los Angeles, Calgary, Winnipeg, Boston, and Vancouver, recording 106 total career points with 19 goals and 87 assists, 344 penalty minutes, and a plus 23 plus-minus rating, which isn't too bad. In 35 career playoff matches, Forbort has recorded 5 points, 3 goals, 2 assists, and 33 penalty minutes. So a decent amount of playoff experience, a lot of regular season experience. So Forbort does bring a veteran presence of sorts to this locker room, especially when you look at his age. 33 years old. The Canucks know how to make the age curve almost irrelevant when it comes to players like this, where they seem to get better past the age of 29 in some respect. We've seen it happen with JT Miller last season. We've seen it happen with some other players in the history of the Vancouver Canucks, the Sedins being 2 of them for sure. Then you also had Marcus Naslund, Ryan Kessler, and some other guys as well. But Derek Forbort being signed on a 2-year deal, I really do like that, because when you look at the different ways that we can look at the signings with our depth chart, you see there with the salaries at Filip Hronek being a massive 7.25. Tyler Myers will be up for a new contract very soon, as well as Quinn Hughes. Elias Pettersson, he's locked down, but then you have Petey and Victor Mancini, who will also be coming up along with Derek Forbort. So that was why when a lot of people were reporting that Filip Hronek was on the trade block, it didn't entirely make sense to me because of how many contracts the Vancouver Canucks will be having expire in the next season or two. So when we're looking at Derek Forbort paired with what Patrik Allvin was saying there, where yes, we want to look at how to improve this team this coming season, we know that Derek Forbort was on the trade block last season. We know that they were trying to move him. They couldn't get a deal done. And then when the injury happened, there was a lot of limbo or uncertainty as far as what the Canucks were going to do with Derek Forbort, because he had a guy who suffered a broken orbital bone, had a great recovery. Thankfully, he's going to be all fine and be able to play again. But you had a guy who suffered a season-ending injury in a contract year, where that could typically scare off a lot of teams as far as trying to sign him or him trying to get the most money that he can out of a deal. But within that, Vancouver had a very difficult decision to make, where we could either lose this guy for nothing when we wanted to trade him, or we bring him back to show a good faith, because we're not just going to get rid of you after you got injured, with a decent season but not a phenomenal season by any stretch of the imagination. Part of that is because of the Canucks being the way that they were this year, with the inconsistencies, the injuries, the drama, and everything in between. However, within this, you got a potential move here where we know the Canucks are looking to improve. They didn't sign him long term. So is this going to be another prove it deal or another prove it year for Derek Forbort? I don't think so, because we know they tried to trade him last season. They couldn't get something worked out. So now you go into this season where you have a lot more time to try and shop him around to many different teams, with a very low salary cap hit at $2 million heading into an expiring contract. So whatever team he goes to, they're going to have to extend him at the end of that season, unless he just crazily doesn't prove himself and they just let him go again and he just keeps bouncing around these teams. But when looking at Forbort, I think it's a very interesting situation because he is a bit older. He has experience. He plays on the left side very well. It does add a lot of depth to this, where you're not having to rely on young guys like Victor Mancini, Elias Pettersson. And then you also have the veteran presence of Tyler Myers and Filip Hronek being there, and Quinn Hughes as well. But you won't have to overwork DPD or have to make him play on both sides as much if you keep Forbort for the whole entire season. However, I think it brings a lot of opportunities where Vancouver can look at it and say, what can we get for him? Yes, he's an older guy, might not bring a lot, but he can bring some pieces over to us where we might be able to work with that. We might be able to turn that into something for the future, whether it be draft picks, whether it be a young prospect who is just an up-and-comer that could be a diamond in the rough or an absolute gem in this Abbotsford system, with the way that Manny Malhotra has been developing these players into a Calder Cup caliber team, which they're in the Western Finals right now. They lost last night, which sucked, but it's still a very long series with a lot more to go. However, if you have Derek Forbort on the trade block, with a lot of the things that he's been able to do, he's bounced around a lot of teams. We know that teams like to either move him or not re-sign him. So within that, I think Vancouver has an opportunity here where they have a chance to either keep him on, and he would be a very serviceable part. We know how he is with this depth chart, the balance that he brings as that second or third pairing defense, with whether it's on the penalty kill or just on 5-on-5. He's been reliable, and he's been a good enforcer, and he's been one who's just been willing to drop the gloves and set the tone. And on the other side of that, you could look at what you could flip for him in return, like you were trying to last season, with not a lot of time on the clock to do it once you decided that you wanted to. This gives you a bit more time to shop him around. Look at what teams might be willing to give up something for him. They're not going to give up a whole lot, but if you can get a late round pick, that could be something, or a prospect that could be really something within this system and just doesn't fit with that system that he's in right now, I don't see this being a bad idea that the Canucks could be considering. But what do you guys think about all this down below? Are you excited about the Forbort signing? Do you think that him only being signed for 1 year makes it seem like the Canucks will move on from a mid-season before the trade deadline? Let us know what you guys have to say about it all down below, and let us know what you had to say about Patrik Allvin's quotes on the Derek Forbort signing and how you feel about what he was saying. And do you think that I'm reading too far into this, or do you think that we could be seeing Derek Forbort be moved on before the trade deadline next season? Let us know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you don't miss new episodes when they drop. We'll be back at it tomorrow with another video. But with that, I've been your host Griffin. Take care.